everyone. We want to welcome you to a Speech in Tax. On this particular edition of A Live in Taxis, Lessons Learned and Experiences Shared, we have our guest here, a senior professional colleague, in the person of Professor Abiola Sanni, SAM. Good morning, sir. Nice to have you
Yeah,
here.
good morning, Tunji.
Thank you for joining us today. We would like to ask you some words of experience without wasting your time, sir, because I know you have a very
No. Don't worry about that. I'm here for you. Okay.
I really
So
okay, sir. I really
in introducing me, you didn't mention that you are my dear Aburo. So you
okay.
are you are
Apology
very
for that, sir.
special to me, and it's my pleasure
Thank you
to
so much.
appear on your program.
Thank you so much, sir.
So I'm not in a hurry. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So, just to start with, sir, please can you share your background on how you started in the field of taxation?
Well, as you know, I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher of law. I've had the good fortune of lecturing in two great faculties of law in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, the topmost faculties of law in Nigeria. I started in 1991 at Obafemi Awolowo University. So where by sheer providence, I was asked to teach law of taxation. So it wasn't something I actually designed. It wasn't something I figured out on myself and said, oh, I want to be a taxman. No. So Providence brought taxation my way when the faculty asked me to teach the course under the mentorship of Professor M.T. Ubara Okorodudu. You know,
Okay,
Professor
sir.
M.T. Ubara Okorodudu was the teacher of law, so she handed it over to me and said I should go to class. So she got positive feedback from the students, and then she handed it over to me going forward. So connecting with the industry was quite a funny experience. I have a bosom friend that I met during my A-levels in the person of Wale Aderibigbe. His nickname is Derry Wilson. So, he turned Wale Aderibigbe to Derry Wilson. You know the mischief we make as young lads. So we met in Oscars. He went to University of Ilorin. When I started teaching, he found me out and he said he got to know that I teach taxation. And he asked me to come with an idea on law of taxation because he had a very special relationship with Chief Adekola, who, who came into taxation at that time and glamorized it. He started collecting taxes for states and he was doing so well. So tax and taxation became so topical. So Wale gave me some time to think through of an idea. So I came up with the idea of a Nigerian revenue law report. So this is the book. When Wale,
Okay.
when Wale saw this, he liked it. He took it to his principal who endorsed it, and we started reporting. Because as a teacher, I'd faced the frustration of looking for Nigerian cases. Okay, so with the cooperation of people like Professor Yerokun, Professor M.T. Abdulrazaq, who you know is my mentor, Professor Pokuola, we were able to start this. Okay, and we started collecting tax cases, curating them, and the rest is history. So in 1999, I moved to University of Lagos, where a totally new experience started. I met Mr. Adepaye on ground as the teacher of law of taxation. So he has started receiving invitation for speaking engagements So through him, I also started receiving some. Then moving to Lagos gave me the opportunity to strengthen my relationship with Professor M.T. Abdulrazaq. So around the 2001, 2003 or 4, I got a unique opportunity to be the head of E&Y tax department through the recommendation of Professor M.T. Abdulrazaq. This is what actually gave me a quantum leap in terms of experience, because initially I didn't even know I could do it. But they told me that if you are not able to do it, I wouldn't have recommended you. And if you have problem, we are here to support you. So the
Okay.
rest is history. I don't know whether I've covered the ground, but this is how I started law of taxation. And then I started handling tax cases. I continued to teach, continued to research in taxation, continued to handle some tax cases. Some I give advice in the background. There are a few major tax cases in this Nigeria that I'm not involved either directly or indirectly. Either a former student is bouncing an idea of me, or a colleague is collaborating, or I'm also leading some people behind who are going to the court to actually argue the cases out. Until I became a senior advocate, I actually wasn't going to court as such because going to court can take a whole day. So that's a bit of background about my experience in taxation. So if there's
Okay.
anything
Thank you.
specifically you want, you can then let us drill down.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for that, for sharing your experience and how you started. The next question is that what are some common misconceptions, that people have about taxes that you have encountered throughout your career?
Okay, you see, there is this skepticism about taxation and tax administrator. No matter what you tell people, there is this stereotype, unfortunately, against the tax authority, against the tax as a subject. Even among colleagues, they jokingly say, "Oh, you are a tax man. I know that will be your position." But people need to understand that taxation is statutory. You know, the tax man cannot act arbitrarily or capriciously or vindictively. If they do, there is a recourse for judicial review. Okay? And people have this skepticism that if they give accurate record to the tax authority, they will be doomed. Whereas
Mm.
keeping the accurate record is actually for the protection of a taxpayer, because data will speak for you even beyond law. So if there is argument about whether you have incurred certain expenses, but the records are clearly in your favor, you see, it's a matter of fact. If the tribunal doesn't find in your favor, you can go upstairs. So if you have deducted certain expenses and you can justify it, no tax authority can disallow those expenses. If they do, you can go upstairs. Then the third issue, common misconception, is about the boundaries between accounting and taxation. Even in my school, there are people in accounting department who at some point will say, when they are talking about taxation, they should come to them, not Sanni. What does Sanni know about tax? He's not an accountant. I'm not an accountant. I recognize that if I have knowledge of accounting, it would have deepened my understanding of taxation. And there are a lot of things I'm doing to fill that gap. So taxation is different from accounting. So you prepare your accounting record based on the prevailing accounting rules. IFRS and all that. So how
Yes.
you do that is strictly accounting. So you determine your accounting profit and all that. After that, taxation kicks in, and then the process is governed by statute. So there are certain things that are not revenue in accounting that may be deemed to be revenue under taxation. Okay? So there is no
Yes.
depreciation in accounting. We have capital allowance and all that. And all these are prescribed in the rules. There is a friend who came to me at some point at my very early stage in my career. He had an issue with the tax authority. And one statement I made, it's as if there is a scale that fell from his eye. I said, accounting principle cannot override tax principle. To him, I'm a genius. But this is a threshold principle in tax law. So people should understand that, look, taxation is a bit of economics, that's the policy side, a lot of law, and also a lot of accounting. So this is what gives a rounded understanding about the subject of taxation. So those
Okay.
are the
Thank
three
you.
major misconceptions, which I think account or partly account for low tax compliance in Nigeria and also low tax culture. So the more we have engagements such as this and also tax education, the more people are enlightened about these issues.
Okay. Thank you so much for that insight, sir. We really appreciate you. So, sir, in your experience, what are some key strategies individuals can use to minimize their tax exposure legally?
Okay, that builds on the first, the last comment I made. The first one is to start on the right path, put the right foot forward by being determined to be compliant, so that you do not start after the fact. So, and it begins with a good record keeping.
Mm.
So there are some pre-commencement expenses that should even be kept, because the way our tax system is going, if it becomes more business friendly, more taxpayers friendly, there are some pre-commencement business that should be allowed, because it will be an incentive for businesses to actually uh, to flourish. So keep good record, because at the end of the day, the bottom line might be negative. So income or profit tax is a tax on profit, if there is any. And then if there is a loss, there is loss relief. But all this must be validated by record. Okay? So there are
Yes.
things taxpayers do that should actually allow them or entitle them to claim certain reliefs. But without record, it becomes difficult. Even the taxman may know that those expenses were incurred. But a taxman who has to report to a superior officer must also justify the basis of certain discretion that is being exercised in the favor of the taxman. Okay? Then the
Yes, sir.
second point is effective and full use of credit notes. You know, many individuals don't even know how credit notes can help them to significantly reduce their tax exposure. So a lot of professionals suffer taxes, withholding taxes at source. So when they are confronted with assessment, direct assessment, they don't know what to do or they are overwhelmed. But if they keep track of all the organizations they have worked for and they get somebody to work them out, pursue the credit notes, they can also always use them to offset their tax liability. My prayer is that we get to a point, and very soon too, where taxpayers will not need to pursue tax authority for credit note. It's a big embarrassment. It will be automatic, you know. I'm happy federal government FRS had done this so that on their portal, the taxpayer can see the credit,
Yeah.
without any headache. But most states are still lagging behind. I think Lagos has also done tremendously well in this regard. Then for for individual, insurance premium can also be leveraged. Because if you look at insurance premium, there is no cap. So it's an avenue to actually plan one's tax very effectively. And then in doing tax planning, one should be mindful of aggressive tax planning. I'm sure you
Mm.
are aware of the the wooden lie that you can save some money or relieve tax burden through voluntary savings account under the
Yeah.
pension law. So the people who did it then eh, should have known that the tax authorities are not dumb. They are very smart. So
Yeah.
now the dead they are buried now have the legs exposed.
Right.
So yes, in doing tax planning, one should be very careful not to overdo it, and that is where professionalism and ethics come in. If you look at South Africa, recently they kind of ban over 50 practitioners from filing returns on behalf of taxpayers on account of not complying with basic rules. Okay,
Mm.
so
Mm.
we need to be mindful of that so that we get it right, we do it right, and then we can have peace of mind even when the tax authority knocks on our door.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate you, sir. Please, can you tell us how you keep with these ever-changing tax laws and regulations, and how you ensure your clients are always compliant? I know that there have been a lot of developments since 2019. We have the, Finance Act 2019, 2020, 2021, and now the current 2023. So how do you keep with these ever-changing tax laws, sir? You must be doing a lot of reading.
Thank you, Tunji. As a law teacher, there is a presumption in my favor that I know the law. Although God forbid that a lawyer will know all the law. But as a specialist, I take keen interest in following legal developments.
Mm.
Okay, I've already told you how I started with my colleague Wiley, his law reports, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not just the legislation. Even the legislation, if you see some of the compilation, there are omissions, there are errors. So for my students, for myself, I at some point put this together, called current federal tax statute in Nigeria. So where we try to ensure accuracy of the content. And a lot of people make mistakes that, when you say taxation is statutory, they think it's only statutes, Personal Income Tax Act, Value Added Tax Act, and all that. Beyond that, the minister, the board, or even the president do have power to make some subsidiary law. So I also try to keep in touch with subsidiary laws. That is what led to this
I think some of
intervention.
these your books will need to put some of these your books so that a lot of people can be aware, to assist them, on
If
putting.
you are giving
Yeah.
advice on any issue, you have to ensure that you checked all the statutes. As a matter of fact, you begin with the Constitution because there are
Mm,
certain issues that the Constitution will address. For example, on the allocation of taxing power and all that. So if a tax has not been allocated to a level of government, any law or any subsidiary legislation made by that government is null and void. So you now drill down to subsidiary laws. Then also you follow judicial decisions.
mm,
There are certain decisions that if you don't read them, you can't really have the feel or a good understanding of the subject matter. So as a teacher, I tell my students, if you have not read Abiola, you can't understand issues on division of taxing power. You know, there are certain development relating to VAT, relating to whether state can make a law on the subject, that unless you read some of the cases that are played out, you won't have holistic understanding. So I try as much as possible to follow up through my own personal experience, and I also leverage my network. I have a lot of people. I have institutional affiliation. I've served CITN in many capacities. I've been the legal advisor for years, and I've been on the taxation standard board. I've been a dean of a faculty in CITN. You see, because of this vantage position, I get to know developments ahead of some other people. Because anything on taxation, they will ask the institute for its input or opinion, and then they
yeah.
will refer it to some of the faculty members. Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
I have network, and also I gain a lot from my network. There are issues that may even escape my attention, but somebody will just assume that Professor Sanni must know it, and then say, Prof, what is your opinion on this? Because I'm not under obligation to answer on the spot. So I take a look as a researcher, I quickly dive into it, and I come up with my position. And also, where in doubt, I have people I consult. There are things I run through my colleagues in the faculty who are not even lawyers. There are administrative issues that have helped in resolving some recondite tax issue. And I get those tips from my colleague. So what I'm saying is, in essence, is that I don't have my head full of all the tax law, all the tax rule, all the tax principles, but I have access to the primary sources and also the secondary sources through my network.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. So, can you also share your memorable or challenging client experience that taught you a valuable lesson in handling tax matters?
Okay, my challenging experience. Honestly, there was time I was boasting that we win all our cases. And I used that to get quite a lot of clients because we are winning. We are winning streak. But taxation is, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you clearly. Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, this thing are just darking. Let me check.
I
Okay,
can hear
if
you.
you
I
can
can
hear
hear
me
you.
and you can see me too. Okay,
Yes, sir.
now, tax is technical and you have to break it down for judges to understand some of the things. My strategy has always been to speak the simplest language, break it down, especially if it's a matter at the tax appeal tribunal.
Mm.
And I try to target the non-lawyers. The confidence of the lawyers are always too much. Some of them will not even allow you to talk, you know. So once I target them, I try to make sure that they understand what I'm saying. And the moment I see them nodding or asking the right question, I know I've gotten them. So there is still arbitrariness, that especially at the state level, where they will just give your client huge amount of money. That has no basis. And then they will say, go and pay 50%. Which 50%? There are some tax authority at the state level in some provincial states where because of desperation for money, and then they just, so you have the situation where you win a lot, but for example, I had a memorable experience about 2 months ago in Enugu. I went to Court of Appeal in Enugu. I had two cases. I was favored, and everything went smoothly. And then we received information about 3 weeks ago that the two were in our favor. There was a day I went for a matter in Kano, not Kano, Kaduna. I couldn't get flight to Kaduna. That was during the kidnapping and all that. I had to get an airport taxi from Kano to Kaduna. When we got to middle of the way, we had problem. I didn't get to my hotel until 2 a.m. But when I got to
Wow.
Kaduna, yeah, it was one of the toughest days in my life. And I told my clients. But because I promised them that I will handle that case personally, the case of one crazy assessment against a bank, where on electronic money transfer, which they are already remitting to FRS. So some states are also serving banks with assessment to pay humongous
Mm.
amount of money. So I went to the tribunal and everything went smoothly. The kind of courtesy I received, even from the council to the authority, who today remain a valued friend, and also the panel. And then at the end of the day, the decision was in our favor. But is it always like this? When you say memorable, there have been about two experiences where you think you will get it. The first decision on transfer pricing, I doubt if that panel understands the arguments we made. And then they ruled against us. There are some high level uh, legal and administrative argument, even constitutional argument that we made that should have saved the day, but they didn't appreciate it. And when I look at that judgment, I can't see any ratio. But unfortunately, you know, we lost that brief. So a colleague is
Mm.
presently handling it. So I've had quite a lot of memorable experience. There were also experiences I had through my junior who were going to court on my behalf. Let me relay one. The head of my chambers at that time came from one of the top law firms. So when he
Mm.
came to me, he said he wanted to work with me. I said, oh, you are working here, you have worked here. Why do you want to leave? Even me, your boss, if I have opening in those places, I wouldn't mind. So he then laughed. But he said the right word. He said he wanted me to mentor him in taxation. The person I'm talking about is Emeka EAB. I'm sure you know Emeka.
Yes.
Emeka graduated with a first class in University of Ibadan, and then it's one of the most brilliant legal minds that I've worked with. So I told him, we don't have much cases here. You are going to also be going to court. He said he wouldn't like to go to court. And he related his experience in one of his old friends, how he made a mistake and then he just lost his confidence after that. I said, there's no big deal. We all learn from our mistakes and all that. So I encourage Emeka to go to court. And one day, he won a case against his friend. And then when he came back, report, report brings, I said, now they will be regretting losing you. I said, I see them trying to poach you from us. I'm sure you are, I hope you are not going to dump us. So we laughed about it and all that. So quite a lot of memorable experience. And also when I became a senior advocate, I'm sure being a specialist accounted for that leap. That is an experience that I don't think I will ever recover from. So because I know that being a specialist in taxation just puts me in a class, you know, competing with among all the very competent people across board would have been infinitely more difficult and challenging. But I think that positioned me very well. So I'm happy and I celebrate the day I actually came into taxation. And that is why I keep honoring my mentors and I keep singing about them. You know, Professor Akonle, Professor M.T. Okoro Dudu, Professor M.T. Abdulrazaq. I even did a book in their honor. The compendium of tax cases that I did some years back was
Yes,
dedicated to
yes.
them. Yeah.
I have a copy of that.
Ah, okay.
Thank you so much, sir. So, what advice would you give an individual who is about starting their own business? Looking at target of federal internal revenue service, state internal revenue service, and the like. What advice would you give somebody who is planning to set up his own business? To look out for the implication of taxes.
Okay. Now, every businessman should know that government is a silent partner in every business. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Government facilitates even the registration of that business or the existence. Because if there is no law that says a company is a separate person, if you register it somewhere, there is no way that legal fiction can come into reality. Every business is registered, the big one with CAC, and they have a registration number. So now, upon registration, you also have TIN, tax identification number. So that means you are known to law. There is no hiding place. So my advice is they should be on the right side of the law. They should have a checklist of what their obligations are and when those obligations are due. If they can't do it themselves, they should get experts. They should get you or get somebody else. Don't let me say get me, so that it doesn't look like marketing. No, so don't get me, but get
But
tax mobile.
you're also
No, I'm not.
advertising for.
I'm advertising for you. But and then some of our students, we have the tax club who offer pro bono tax service. They do tax education. They help individuals to file their returns, and they also give advice. They play some advisory role uh, for uh, small and nano businesses and all that. So
Okay.
that is, if you can't do it alone, get somebody to assist you.
Okay, sir. The next question is: have you experienced any significant changes in the tax landscape over your years? You know, that has a notable impact on your clients or practice.
I have. I just mentioned one. When transfer pricing, when transfer pricing debut in Nigeria, there were a lot of people posturing as experts, and there are still people posturing as experts today. You know,
Yes.
there's a difference between textbook knowledge and real practical experience. So
Mm,
even people who have knowledge of TP then in the tax administration were limited. You know, you can't give what you don't have.
of
So,
course.
but luckily, FRS invested, you know, there were interventions. I was involved in some. There was a modernization program that I was supposed to even facilitate a training program with a colleague who is based in South Africa, a specialist in transfer pricing. But unfortunately, I couldn't go ahead with it because I had injury while playing football, you know, and I was hospitalized for about 2 or 3 weeks. So which
Oh,
aborted the. So TP
so you still
was
play football, sir?
challenging. I stopped playing when I had when my tendon actually snapped. So I
Okay,
stopped
sir.
playing football. So what I do now is I just play table tennis and I work out. I
Okay.
work out
What's the name of your club? What's the name of your club, sir?
You mean football?
Yeah, your football club.
No, forget that. Forget that. I support the winning team at all time. So I was Arsenal. I was Arsenal 3 days ago when they were pounding Chelsea. So I became Arsenal with my son. And then I enjoyed it. So I can't give myself heart attack over anything. You know, that's my philosophy of life. You become addicted to a team and they keep disappointing you. I have too many things on my plate that I can't
Mm,
have what should be relaxation, uh, sport, to now become a burden for me. So then the Finance Act too, when the Finance Act came, especially VAT, oh, a lot of people were really, really troubled. They didn't know what to do. They were asking for advice. And I was involved. I was involved in this. Uh, I, I played significant role in in advising on the legal framework because
okay.
the initial thought.
Hello, sir. Are you there? Okay, I think we have a network problem. Please stay with us. Hello, sir. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, maybe you should log out and log in and join again. Okay. So while we wait for our guest in the person of Professor Abiola Sanni, I'm sure you learned one or few things from him. He has shared a lot about his experience, his personal experience, how he got into taxation and the like. So let's just give him maybe 1 or 2 minutes to join us again so that we can wrap up. Thank you very much. Mm. I think he's still having network issues. Um, okay. We are still waiting for our guest, though we've had 35 to 30. He will join us soon so that we can round up this session. For those who are with us live, please join our community, subscribe, as we will be bringing experts on a monthly basis. So you should subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can get notified. This particular a live in tax, lessons learned and experiences shared will always go live on every last Friday of the month. Okay, I think, yes.
Yes.
You're welcome back, sir.
Yeah. Apologies for the glitch.
No problem, sir. So you are saying something about,
Bates.
yeah, you're saying
Okay.
something
Okay.
about veins and your,
I
your legal
said
input.
the conception then or misconception was that, oh, you need a separate law. And I said, like I approach most issues with simplicity. I said, look, how you are doing here is you are doing remission, you are doing forgiveness. You are saying that we are going to forgive the tax that a taxpayer is ordinarily liable to pay. And I said, there are sufficient provisions in the tax law to achieve this. So, and that was how, through executive order, the president was able to do something in that regard. We could have achieved more, but there were intergovernmental challenges and lack
Mm.
of proper coordination, which is purely administrative, that didn't make that to come to pass. Then Finance Act threw up a lot of challenges. There were things that were rushed in the Finance Act that created problem. Then we had unfortunate situation where there were no clarity on areas of tax law that even the Finance Act came to intervene and all that. So we have learned sufficient lesson through that. And believe that the holistic reform that is going on is going to reverse all those and then set our tax system on the path of irreversible development.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So just to round up, this edition, sir, we really appreciate you. And then reflecting on your own experience and what you have shared with us, um, what what would you advise, what we advise those who are just, you know, or those who are
Well, the principle of success, they are quite settled. You must know what you want, and then you must be passionate about it. You must see the bigger picture. For me, tax is more than just offering me daily bread or even economic gain. I see taxation as an instrument to change Nigeria for good. So, and that's why I embrace every opportunity. So, you must see the bigger picture. So, once people start paying tax, they will start asking questions. So, I see taxation from the social angle, apart from, oh, then you must give it all it takes. Don't look back. Before I got into taxation, one of the big, the biggest masquerade in our town, Professor Olatunji of blessed memory, when I went to him for advice, because there was a time I wanted to quit teaching because the salary wasn't just right, and I wanted to quit. I felt I could do more. Then he gave me some advice, and one thing he told me that resonated was go and get an area and specialize. Then I didn't have a clue on how to even specialize in anything, let alone taxation. So right now, specialization could be a huge strategy for some people to actually get established at the moment. Oh, we just add PIB, you know, everybody will approach PIB afresh. And those who have experience, you know, are likely to approach it more casually and say, oh, after all, we know it. But if somebody who is hungry comes into it, you keep asking the right question, keep pursuing, keep following, keep reading, keep writing, you know, the person will develop more rapidly. Then we should link up with the right people. I hold CITN a lot, you know, I hold it a lot, and that is why I'm happy to serve CITN at all times. So some of my first major speaking engagement was through that platform. And then some of the best people, some of my friends that we are very close, that we do business together, we socialize. Yeah, I met some of them there. I don't want to keep talking about Professor Abdulrazaq, not to embarrass him. Uh, I became very close to him when he was the registrar. And let me say that while he was registrar, he was able to get the council to review the provisions for admission of lawyers. You know, it was him that facilitated the membership of so many lawyers into the CITN and others. So you need to be in the right crowd. So I can't. I don't think I can exhaust what any any green arm should do. Just adopt and adapt the basic principle of success. So, and I hope to see you at the top. Thank you.
okay. Thank you so much, sir. It's been a wonderful 15 minutes with you. We've learned a lot from you. I really appreciate you for taking out time to join us at a live in task. Thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, for your advice, and for what you've been doing in the field of taxation in Nigeria. I have quite a number of your books, tax cases, tax law, the revenue report, and all that. We want to appreciate you for your contribution. and for joining us in this program. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. God bless you, and we
Thank you
really
for
appreciate it.
inviting me. And let me also say one or two things about you. You have kept at it. You know, this is your tax mobile. I know it can't be easy like every other thing. It has become your identity. Please keep it up. You are also an
Thank you so much.
inspiration to so many people. So continue
Thank you
to
so much,
keep
sir.
and keep keeping on. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you so much, sir, and have a wonderful day, sir.
And you too.
Thank you so
Bye
much.
bye. Yeah.
Yeah. God bless you, sir. Bye.
God bless you.